Imagine walking into a house and being hit by the overwhelming scent of 70 air fresheners. But what could they be hiding? We're about to unravel the mystery of Bruce Roberts, a man with a dark secret hidden in his home for over a decade. What could drive someone to live with such a chilling secret for so long? This story proves that sometimes the most disturbing truths are lurking right next door.
My name is Tana Kingi, and this is our safe space to talk true crime while I do my makeup at the same time, with new videos every Tuesday.
Warning, viewer discretion is advised.
If you are new here, hi, I'm Tana. I hope you're having an amazing week. Please don't forget to show love by hitting that like button and sub if you haven't already. I upload videos every Tuesday, and this really helps the algorithm and small creators just like me to grow. As always, the product that I'll be using in today's look will be down in the description below. Today, we're diving into a story that is pretty bizarre. It's one that has had a lot of mystery surrounding it, even still to this day. So as we work through this video, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you think happened in the comments, okay? So this case, it's about a man named Bruce Roberts. And trust me, it's far from your average neighborhood drama. Picture this. A quiet street in Greenwich, Sydney. Nice houses, friendly faces, and then there's Bruce. Now, Bruce wasn't your typical neighbor. He was the kind of guy who always wore the same brown heavy coat, no matter the weather. Like, it could be hot outside, cold, he's wearing it. Weird, right? But that's just the beginning. Now, Bruce Roberts was the definition of a loner. He kept to himself, he barely spoke to anyone, and personal hygiene, wasn't high on his priority list, let's just say that. One time, a neighbor actually caught Bruce staring into their living room window at night, just standing there, motionless. Talk about giving you the creeps. Just picturing that is horrifying. Now, you might think that Bruce was just some poor guy struggling to get by because his house was a total disaster zone. I just smacked over my bottle of foundation, and that was scary. We're talking floor to ceiling junk everywhere you looked, and the stench of rotting food mixed with the musty odor of decades old newspapers. It was, I guess you could call it a hoarder's paradise, but a million times worse. Now, the smell alone, my friend, was enough to keep most people away. But maybe that's exactly what Bruce wanted. Maybe that was his plan all along. Despite living in this absolute mess, Bruce chose to stay put. It's almost like he was trying to keep people away, right? But guys, Bruce's hoarding wasn't just about stuff. Oh no. It was about hiding something way worse. Something that would shock the entire neighborhood when it finally came to light. Now, I know what you're thinking. Tana, what could be worse than living in a house full of junk? Well, my friend, we're about to find out. But first, let's see how this whole mess unraveled. It all began with a simple welfare check. So you see, Bruce, he hadn't been seen in a few weeks, which was unusual. I mean, even for him. His mail was piling up and his overgrown lawn was starting to attract complaints. The neighborhood, despite their unease around Bruce, became genuinely concerned. When the officers showed up at Bruce's house, they had no idea what they were about to stumble into. As they pushed open the door, the first thing that hit them was the smell. It was overwhelming, like nothing they'd ever experienced before. And then they saw it, Bruce's body, lying there amongst all the clutter and the trash. But crazy enough, Bruce's death wasn't even the biggest surprise. As the police started to search the house, they found something that would turn this simple welfare check into a full-blown murder investigation. And trust me, what they discovered is going to blow your mind. The police knew something was seriously wrong the moment they stepped into Bruce Roberts' house. Let's rewind a bit. It's July 2017, and Bruce, he hasn't been seen for weeks. His neighbours, they're getting worried, but not because they've missed his charming personality. They're more concerned about the weird smell coming from his house. Even weirder than usual. The local IGA supermarket guy, he notices that Bruce isn't coming in for his usual groceries, which is absolutely not like him, because Bruce might be creepy, but you see, he's got a routine. He's a creature of habit. When you think about it, we're all creature of habits in some way or another, and we probably don't even realize it. When he doesn't show up to get his usual groceries for weeks, people start to talk. Finally, on July 21st, someone calls the police for that welfare check. I think we're going to do big liner today. Let's do brown liner and maybe like a bold lip. I might try and make my own lipstick. So stay tuned to see how that turns out. Now, imagine, right? Imagine being one of those officers. You're expecting a routine check, but as soon as you get to Bruce's place, you know something's off. Mail was piled up in the paper avalanche against the door, which is red flag city. And then the police, they knock. Nothing. They call out, silence. So they do what they do best and they break the door down. Now, we already know that Bruce's body is found, right? But it's found slumped over an old school heater. Sadly, he's been there for weeks, maybe even months. Let's just say it wasn't a pretty sight. His body was in an advanced state of decomposition. His skin discolored and sunken, and the smell almost unbearable. Hats off to the police who have to deal with these situations, hey. Like that smell would just traumatize you for years. Can we all just take a moment to give an applause to all the first responding emergency service teams who have to, deal with these traumatizing situations on a daily, because there's no way I could do this. That's why I'm here on YouTube. But here's the thing that really gets me. Bruce had been sitting there, decomposing for who knows how long, and nobody noticed. I mean, they did, but, he did. Where was his family? I don't, who knows? But it's like he was invisible, even in death, which is really fucking sad. So the cops do the usual. They start searching, thinking it's probably natural causes, old guy, living alone, heart attack maybe. But as they're looking around, they start to realize that this isn't just a sad story about a lonely man who died alone. There's something else here, something hidden under all the junk and the trash. The cops had no idea that just a few feet away from Bruce's body, in one of the small home's bedrooms, buried under piles of newspapers and who knows what else, was an even bigger secret. As the police continued with their search, they began to uncover clues that pointed to a much larger mystery. The piles of junk weren't just the result of compulsive hoarding. They were hiding something sinister, something that would turn this routine welfare check into one of the most disturbing investigations these officers had ever seen. Oh man, this just looks like, when you stuff up your liner that much that it just keeps getting thicker and thicker and thicker and thicker? Yeah! Remember how I said that the cops found Bruce's body? Well, that was just the beginning. As they started poking around, they realized they weren't dealing with a sad case of a lonely guy who died. They were standing in the middle of a full-blown disaster zone. The cops could barely move without knocking something over, and it was like navigating an obstacle course made of years of neglect. And the smell. Let's just say it was bad enough to make even the toughest officer gag. Now you might be thinking, Tana, come on, it's just a messy house. But guys, this wasn't your average spring cleaning nightmare. This was next level hoarding. We're talking about a serious fire hazard here. One spark and the whole place would have gone up in flames. So the police, right, they're trying to find out how Bruce died. But it's not easy when you're playing a real life game of Jenga with piles of junk. They're moving stuff around, trying not to disturb too much, when they stumble onto something that makes them stop in their tracks. Guns. And not just one or two, we're talking about a whole arsenal hidden amongst the trash. I mean, this in a hoarder's house? I don't know about you, but that doesn't exactly scream normal old guy, does it? But here is where the mystery deepens. So despite living in this total dump, Bruce had over $600,000 in the bank when he died. Can you imagine having that kind of money and then choosing just to live like that? It's like he was trying to keep people away. But why? What was he hiding? So the police, they wrap up their investigation. They're thinking that they've got it all figured out. They believe that Bruce died of natural causes, right, between the 26th of May 2017 and the 21st of July 2017 at the age of 60. But because of how badly his body was decomposed, they couldn't identify the exact reason of his death. So factoring his age and his living conditions, they thought that there was a high probability of it being a heart attack. Case closed, right? Wrong. Because even with all their searching, even with finding the guns and seeing the mess, they still missed something pretty huge. Something that would stay hidden for almost another year after finding Bruce's remains. Something that would turn the sad story of a lonely hoarder into a shocking murder mystery. What they missed was right under their noses the whole time. Hidden amongst those piles of trash was evidence of a crime so disturbing that it would shock the entire neighborhood when it finally came to light. What could be so terrible that it remained undiscovered, even with the cops searching the house? Trust me, you're not ready for this. Well, maybe you are. You're a true crime gal just like me. So we're always ready. So it's now May 2018. The cleaners that are assigned to go to Bruce Roberts' house and clear it out had no idea what they were about to uncover. So as they kind of work through the piles of junk and trash, the stench was unbearable. And every time they moved a piece of junk, it just smelled like the smell was getting stronger and more intense. Until one of them moved something in the living room on May 29th and made a discovery that would turn this routine cleanup into a full-blown crime scene. There, hidden under a rug and mountains of debris, lay a mummified corpse. See? Messed up, right? But this wasn't just any body. It had been there for years, slowly drying out in the enclosed space. The process of mummification had preserved the remains, leaving behind an eerie, leather-like shell. Whoa. Let's hold up for a second. Can you imagine the shock those cleaners must have felt the minute that they're sorting through old newspapers and then the next they're face to face with a dead body that's been hidden for over a decade? I would have handed in my job resignation, that's for sure. Like, your job, you can shove it up your ass. The police were called, and when they arrived, Bruce's cluttered house became the center of a murder investigation. And as they examined the mummified remains, they made a chilling discovery: a gunshot wound to the neck. This wasn't an accident or a natural death. Someone had killed this person and hidden the body. So we've got a body, a hoarder's house, and a ton of questions. Time to piece together who this mystery man is and how he became Bruce's creepy roommate for 15 years. The cops, they're staring at a mummified body, wondering how on earth they're going to ID this guy. But the detectives, they don't give up easy. They start searching for clues. And boom, they hit the jackpot. This body might be old, but it's still got some secrets to spill. The tattoos are still visible after all these years. Can you believe it? These little ink marks become the key to unlocking the mystery. They manage to lift some fingerprints too. And then comes the DNA magic. Between the tattoos, the prints, and a bit of DNA wizardry, they start putting the pieces together. And it's like a really morbid jigsaw puzzle. Finally, after all that work, they get a match. And it's Shane John Snellman. Poor Shane was 39 when he died. And let's just say he had a troubled past. He'd been in and out of jail, mostly for petty crimes, nothing major, but enough to keep him on the wrong side of the law. Now, that doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It just maybe means that you've had bad times, been down on your luck. But this is where it gets really sad because Shane's family, they hadn't seen him in years. They thought that he was out there living his life, maybe trying to stay out of trouble. Imagine getting that knock at your door. Shane's sister Tracy, she got that knock. And when the cops told her what had happened, she screamed and collapsed to the floor. Her whole entire world shattered in an instant. Shane's niece, Tiana, she was devastated too. She talked about what a loving guy he was, how he'd do anything for anyone. It's heartbreaking to think of all the years they spent wondering and not knowing where he had gone. But identifying Shane was just the beginning. Now the cops had to figure out what happened to him. How did he end up in Bruce's house? Why did Bruce kill him? And why on earth did he keep the body all those years? The more that they dug into Shane's past, the more complicated it got. He'd been in foster care, in and out of jail, and even charged with murder when he was 15, but he got off of that one. But it still paints a picture of the kind of life that he struggled with. The cops found out that Shane had only been out of prison for a few months when he died. He'd been living on the streets, doing drugs, just trying to get by. But how did he end up in Bruce's house? There's got to be more to the story. The autopsy gave some answers, but it also raised more questions. Shane had been shot in the neck, and that's what killed him. But he also had other injuries, and there were drugs in his system. Every piece of evidence told a different part of the story. None of them could tell the whole thing. No matter what Shane did in his life, nobody deserves to end up like that. It's a reminder that behind every crime statistic, there's a real person with a family who loved them. Now, remember those 70 bottles of air freshener that I mentioned in the beginning? They were scattered all around Shane's body, creating this eerie circle. It's as if Bruce was desperately trying to mask the smell for 15 whole years. But here's the kicker. It didn't work. The stench was so bad that when the cleaners found Shane, they thought it was a dead animal at first. Shane's body was just sitting there, fully clothed, leaning against the couch. Piles of junk surrounded him like some bizarre burial mound. It's no wonder the initial welfare check missed him. He was hidden under years of hoarded stuff. As the cops kept searching, they noticed more shocking discoveries. First, they found a few guns and then a few more. By the time they were done, they'd counted in total 19 illegal firearms. And that's not even mentioning the mountains of ammo. They couldn't figure out which gun actually killed Shane. They also found an old Nokia phone, you know, those ones, brick ones from back in the day. The cops, they were hoping that it might have some clues, but after 15 years, who knows if it still even worked. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. Bruce lived there with Shane's body for 15 years. Detective Chief Inspector Simon Jones pointed out something crucial. All of those air fresheners around the body meant someone knew Shane was there. It wasn't just about hiding the smell. It was proof that Bruce was actively trying to cover up what he'd done. The police, they start piecing together a theory, and it's wild. They think Shane might have broken into Bruce's house back in 2002. Maybe he was looking for money or drugs or something else, but whatever happened, it went horribly wrong. The autopsy revealed a gruesome truth. Shane didn't just get shot once. He had 15 metal fragments in his chest and stomach. Bruce had unleashed a barrage of bullets, going way beyond self-defense into something much darker. But here's the question that keeps nagging at me. Why did Bruce keep the body? Why not get rid of it? It's like he wanted to keep Shane close, like some kind of twisted trophy. And how did he manage to live with that secret for so long without cracking? Let's rewind to October 2002 and try to piece together this twisted case. It's like trying to solve a crime scene with only half the evidence, but we're going to give it our best shot. Shane Snellman had just gotten out of jail a few months earlier, and his life was in shambles. He was battling drug addiction, he had no money, and was basically living on the streets. The last anyone saw of him, he had taken out his final 66 cents from the bank. As far as anyone knows, Shane and Bruce had never met before. They were total strangers. So how did Shane end up dead in Bruce's house? The cops have a wild theory that might explain it. They think Shane might have broken into Bruce's place looking for stuff to steal. But what Shane didn't know was that Bruce was home and fully armed. The evidence paints a pretty grim picture. It looks like Shane was shot while kneeling by the window he had just climbed in. I think I need to deepen the outer edges, and then we're going to add some faux freckles. Bruce was a total mystery. He kept to himself with over $600,000 in the bank, living like a hermit in a house full of junk. What I can't get over is like, why did Bruce keep Shane's body? Bruce just kept putting junk on top of Shane and just kept on living his life for 15 years. Now, I know what you're thinking. This whole thing is super messed up. And you're right, it is. But Shane's sister, she doesn't buy the break-in story. She just thinks that Shane knew Bruce somehow. But if that's true, why would Bruce kill him? And why would Shane be breaking in if they knew each other? You know, we might never know for sure what happened that night back in 2002. One thing is for sure is that this case is the perfect example of how truth can be stranger than fiction. What would you do if you were living with a secret so dark that it consumes your entire life? That's exactly what happened to Bruce Bartlett. Bruce killed Shane, or at least that's what it looks like. But instead of calling the cops or hiding the body, he just left it there for 15 whole years. Bruce lived in that house with Shane's body just a few feet away. Now you're probably wondering how anyone could do that. I'm thinking the same thing. Maybe he couldn't handle what he'd done, or maybe he was so cut off from the world that it seemed normal to him. I mean, this guy was seriously isolated. Every single day, Bruce woke up and he went about his life, knowing there was a dead body in this house. He kept buying air fresheners and piling up junk, all to hide his secret. Was he terrified of getting caught, or was something else going on in his head? Here's a wild thought, okay? Hear me out. What if Bruce's hoarding was his way of dealing with the trauma of what he'd done? Experts say that hoarders often have a history of loss or abuse. Maybe killing Shane broke something inside of him and he just couldn't cope with reality anymore. The guilt, the fear, the constant reminder of what he'd done. It must have been absolute torture. No wonder his neighbors described him as a loner who rarely talked to anyone. Bruce's life became a prison of his own making. He was trapped by his secret, by his hoarding, by his own mind. And in the end, that prison became his final tomb. We'll never know the full story. Bruce took his secrets to the grave. And maybe that's the scariest part of all of it. It just shows how powerful secrets can be and how they can eat away at a person until there's nothing left. The impact on Shane's family is gut-wrenching. They spent years hoping, praying for his return, only to discover that he was just streets away the whole time. Now, the debate whether it was murder or self-defense rages on. Multiple gunshot wounds to the point of overkill, but Bruce's arsenal of weapons muddies the waters. Was he just paranoid, or was there more to their relationship? The possibility that Shane and Bruce might have known each other adds another layer of complexity to an already baffling case. Even the house itself couldn't escape the fallout. Sold for over $2 million and then demolished. The Bruce Roberts and Shane Snellman case is a chilling reminder of the darkness that can be hidden in plain sight. It's not just about a body being hidden in a house, it's about the secrets we keep and their consequences. This case makes us question how well we really know our neighbours and the importance of staying vigilant. If something seems off, please don't ignore it. Speak up. Be aware of your neighbours, check on them, and build a stronger community. Even in the darkest situations, there's always hope for change. Please let me know what you think may have happened, because it's strange, it's unusual, and clearly Shane's family doesn't think that the police are right with this one. I need answers. I need answers. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, sis. What do you think of this week's look? It's giving, what's that girl off of Willy Wonka? Veruca Salt. You remember when she turns into the blueberry or the lip? I looked at it as soon as I seen it and I was like, that's Veruca Salt. Is that her name? Is that her name? The blueberry girl. Veruca Salt, or is that the red girl? I'm looking it up right now. Veruca. I don't even know how to spell that. No, I got it wrong. Violet. How did I not know that? Violet Beauregard. Violet. We're sticking with Violet. If you like this video, please don't forget to hit that like button. And if you really, really liked it, then maybe you can go ahead and hit the subscribe button so we can hang out again. Okay, I would totally not hit the subscribe button if I seen somebody do that to me. So please hit the subscribe button. Well, that's it from me. But I'll see you next Tuesday. Hey, hey. Have a safe and happy week. And remember, you take care out on them streets, girl.